Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to the Best People We Know radio show. This is where you'll meet experts and celebrities who share their success secrets with you to help you be your most successful best too. Your host, Deb Scott, is a certified professional coach at Discover the Amazing You Coaching and author of the award-winning motivational book, The Sky is Green and the Grass is Blue, turning your upside-down world right side up. The Best People We Know radio show brings you powerful resources, effective ideas, and transformational tools you can use to educate, inspire, and motivate you to be your most purposeful, peaceful, happy best. So get ready to experience mind vitamins to feed your whole soul. Good change is about to happen. The Best People We Know radio show. Here's your host, Deb Scott.
Oh, my goodness, what an honor, what a privilege, what an amazing show. It's amazing because we have Bryant McGill with us here today. Oh, my goodness, I can't believe it. I am so jazzed. I woke up this morning going, it's the day, it's the big day. Well, everybody, I know how much you love him, but to have him here in person, we already have the phone lines and the switchboard lit up and everything. So we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff with him because he is amazing. But the first thing I want to tell you about is his book is coming out May 19th. It's the new book, Simple Reminders. It's amazing. It's on track to be a New York Times bestseller, so you want to get that on Amazon. And we're also going to talk about Authentic Leadership Day, where he'll be speaking with one of our favorite people, Sean Duperon. So I'll give you all the websites and everything on that. I'm going to read a little bit about Brian so you can have that information. But a couple of things. If you don't already follow us on our Blog Talk homepage, please just click that little blue button there on the left, and then you'll get automatic updates so that you can hear about our shows and you can listen to us 24/7 on replay as well. And you can go to my website, debscott.com, sign up for the monthly Mind Vitamin News, and you'll get a listing of all of our great guests. Because people like Brian make this possible. Well, who is he? You've got to know him. He is a best-selling author. He's an amazing speaker in the fields of self-development, personal freedom, and human rights. His writings are prolific, and his, I guess he calls them the small aphorisms, have been published in hundreds of books and thousands of works by other authors and thought leaders. He's been published, let's see, maybe you recognize a few of these: Oprah's Lifeclass, the Chopra Center, Simon & Schuster, Random House, HarperCollins, Writer's Digest.
Well, I tell you what, we can spare everybody the bio, but I just almost want to throw up every time I hear the bio. I've heard it so many times. I'm just a writer and a person in love with life, and I wish I could just put that up there, and that would be my bio.
Oh, my gosh. We are feeling the love. You are so, you know what? You are Mr. Humility. You are such the real deal. You are so cute. But I want to tell them you were on the cover of Wall Street Journal. I mean, my goodness, I can't get all that in. Oh.
I know. It's just like, whenever they do these shows, it's just always, the whole string of everything. Anybody who wants to find out about some of those accomplishments, so-called, can check them out on my website and everything. I'd really just love to jump in and let's just get into helping some people with their blocks and, talking about some of this wonderful work that Sean Duperon is doing, with authentic leadership. There's just so many opportunities to serve. I love your idea. I love what you said about mind vitamins. I thought that just made me laugh when I was listening to the opening. Hey, I love the idea of giving people mind vitamins. So let's do it. I'm ready to rock and roll here.
Okay, well, we'll cut to the chase. So how did you get involved with Authentic Leadership Day? Because I will say, and I don't want to make you get upset with me, but I did love that article. You are on the cover of OM Times, and Sean did an interview with you, and I got to tell you, I loved it. But tell people why you're getting involved in Authentic Leadership Day and why it's important to you.
Well, really because there's so much BS in the world, and there's just how many people, if you really think about it, when we talk about authentic, people, that's a buzzword that's thrown around by a lot of people. Now, you have to remember, Chandra Priyan is not just some pretty face. I mean, she's a 6-time Emmy winner. She is working on her PhD right now. This is a sophisticated woman and just a powerhouse of a person. But mainly, she is a heart-centered individual who really wants to bring change into the workplace. Now, that sounds, we hear a lot of things about quote-unquote authentic leadership being talked about a lot as a buzzword in the corporate world. But really, there's a lot of psychosis in the corporate world, if you think about it. Let me give you an example. Let's say that people aren't really encouraged to be authentic. They have tall poppy syndrome. They're encouraged to keep their mouth shut and keep their paycheck coming and to be a quote-unquote team player. And these are the lessons that people really learn. They don't learn authenticity. Authenticity will get you thrown out of your company in many cases. And so, I think it's really about going up against this yes man culture that exists, having heart-centered lives, realizing we're dealing with people, we're dealing with human beings, we're dealing with things that are dear to people's emotions. There's a lot of emotions at the surface in the corporate world. For example, your paycheck, a lot of your sense of purpose, your so-called career. These things can bring a lot of emotions to the surface. And, having authentic communication skills is so important. A conversation about forgiveness is critical. These are critical, often left out, discussions that need to be taking place. And so, really, when you think about authenticity, let me give you an example. Let's say that I know so many people that work for companies, and they will sell or endorse or be a part of the back office support for a product that they are endorsing through their company. So they're out there saying, buy this, use this, or they're supporting it. But when I ask them about the product, they'll say, oh, that's a piece of crap, don't buy it.
Wow, yes.
Now, this is not uncommon. And so what I believe this fractures people's psyches, and it creates a form of psychosis to be promoting something you don't even believe in. I believe is the slippery slope toward not only inauthenticity, but toward a loss of one's soul. And so having proper communications and a grounding in authenticity is essential at every level, from a leadership level, from a working in a company level. It's a dialogue that needs to take place. But either way, I just want to tell you that Chandra Priyan is like a saint as far as I'm concerned. And she's the one who graciously brought me into this project, and I'm very grateful for her and for everything that she is doing and for including me. It's a real honor.
Well, I have to say that she's been, I'm in her fan club too. She's been great, and for years she's been a mentor to me as well. And one of the things about her, and for the people that don't know her story, I really think it's amazing how that 5-minute video went viral, the one that she did on, forgiveness, and how that became a nonprofit, and then that created the PBS streaming, which you're going to be speaking at on the 20th, and we are sponsoring again this year. We did last year as well. And it really is amazing to me how compassion, authenticity, forgiveness, you think that those three things are just, that's in a relationship. But I loved how you segued, no, we need that in business. And why is that important in business? Because without authenticity, you're going to end up, I think it was Harvard, it was in that one of the press releases that Sean had, where a Harvard Business Review was saying that they analyzed, 3,000 transcripts, and that denial was one of the greatest hurdles that the leaders faced in becoming self-aware. And,
that's right.
And that the research was showing, as far as forgiveness, that when you got out of that deny and defend thing, in the medical eras, like, I'm going to deny, I'm going to be defensive, and started to replace it with acknowledge and engage, they were finding out that they were saving, $2 million in litigation costs because people actually trusted them?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
And that's why companies like Ford, and Cryoderm and Verizon Wireless are jumping on board, because they realize this is a serious 501c3. It's non-religious, it's nonpartisan, and it's the leadership. It's not only it's the leadership that really needs these skills, because I can tell you, as a business leader myself, I have made many mistakes. I am constantly misreading situations, misinterpreting people's motives, making mistakes at every single level. And, we have to be able to forgive not only our colleagues for making mistakes, but really forgive ourselves for being human, forgive ourselves for being flawed. And because, when we can start looking at ourselves as entrepreneurs and business leaders, and we can start, having self-compassion for, well, first of all, you have to have awareness and acknowledgement and humility and introspection to admit that you are constantly making mistakes as a leader. And once you do that, it helps you to then have compassion for others. So it really starts with yourself. I mean, this is where it begins.
Yeah, and it really is amazing how much humble pie I eat on a regular basis. And I was sending Jenny, your life partner, who's absolutely another earth angel. I'm
yes, she is.
Oh, yes. Humble pie, and I have the graphic to go with it, because every day we make mistakes, and I think that whole part of, you know what, you're not a rotten person because you're part of the human race. You're a better person when you can admit, you know what, I made a mistake. And you saying that you have to forgive yourself. Sean saying you have to forgive yourself. People in major corporations saying, you know what, we all make mistakes. It really becomes you and me against a problem rather than me against you. And
yes.
I think that the other great, really amazing component of this particular project with at the Henry Ford College for Authentic Leadership Day is that Sean's going to be inviting high school students. I mean, there's going to be young people that are going to be able to learn so much sooner than I know I did. I wish I was there when I was their age to be able to hear you and Sean and everyone.
Oh, and not only that, but Jack Canfield. And Jack, I have to tell you, look, as a person in the speaking circuit, let me let your listeners in on a little secret here. If you want to know about people, you ask the crews, the camera crews, the audio crews. These are the people who know the real deal about people. So everywhere I go, when I'm getting mic'd up for an interview or what have you, people are always talking, oh, do you know this person or do you know that person? And yeah, I mic them up and, whoa, let me tell you, what a jerk or whatever. And I just have to tell you, Jack Canfield has the best reputation everywhere I go. I've never heard more good things from audio crews and camera crews. It's like everywhere I go, I hear about Jack Canfield being the ultimate gentleman. And, I know we're going to talk about LOA, Law of Attraction Manifesting, a little bit. It's really funny. I started turning up in his books. I was in 4 of his Chicken Soup for the Souls. Not that I submitted for them. I just was appearing in them. And so we were just talking about, Jenny and I were just constantly saying, oh, look, I'm in Chicken Soup for the Soul. And we were just talking about Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And the next thing you know, I'm in this PBS special with him. And then he writes on his Facebook, hey, Bryant, everywhere I go, I keep hearing your name. I think it's time that maybe we talk. And so, I mean, that is just crazy LOA. But what a privilege to be able to participate in a project with a gentleman like Jack, and also what a great opportunity for all of these young people and corporations to benefit from his wisdom, a man who has a reputation that is golden.
Wow, let's talk about the LOA, because I tell you, I love, you're very gracious, and it's really it's humbling to me to hear how humbling you are, because I think that we're starving for that. We're starving for people that can say, you know what, I'm a person like you. And I really do love you being able to share, even in that interview with Sean in the OM Times, and I'm going to recommend people get that. I was like, that took a lot of courage for you to say, you know what, I was 100 pounds heavier. You know what?
Yeah.
There was a story of this young man that wanted to kill himself, and guess what? That man was me, and that woman crossed the street and smiled at me, and that's what I'm dedicating my life to, is integrity. And I was listening to your radio show, one of them, I can't remember, it was somebody called in, it was a 25-year-old, and you and Jenny, he was talking about my life purpose, and you were just so compassionate to him and the questions that he had in talking about, look, the wealth, the real wealth is not in the money, it's in the trust, in the service, in the friends. Right. So speak to that.
That's right. Oh, listen, it's the full spectrum. It is the wealth, too. I mean, we all talk about balance, but then there are a lot of people who want to say, well, the money's not important. But if you really look at it from a balanced standpoint, the money's also important. But it does start within, and that's what we talk about with LOA. You talk about creating a vibration within, which skeptics hate that word vibration. What does that mean? So we could just call it an emotion or a thought or an intention, which no one could argue, is invalid. Mm-hmm. And, the reason, I'm not really humble. What I am is it's just, I should be dead. Like, I have an 8th grade education. I was a redneck in Alabama. I shouldn't even be alive. And so it's not so much humility as I just remember how low I've been. And when I see people and I see their discomfort with themselves, when I see that they have suppressed their identity, which there are many reasons to suppress your identity in this domination culture, in this dog-eat-dog culture. There are many reasons to suppress your identity, but it creates psychosis. You can just see it erupting out of people. You can see the twitches in their face and the involuntary movements and the discomfort when they don't know how to talk about their emotions or their feelings. And the problem is when you swallow that bitterness, when you swallow your emotions, when you aren't honest with yourself, when you aren't honest about who you are, it always comes to the surface. It will find a way to come to the surface, usually in very destructive ways. And so, authenticity isn't just a practice in the business world. Authenticity is a practice you first start with yourself in the mirror. And so, but I can tell you, none of this is theoretical. I don't care what people say. And it doesn't matter if you call it the law of attraction, or you could even look at it from a cognitive bias standpoint. And, there's selection biases where the brain, which is a pattern recognition system, once exposed to a pattern, finds that pattern everywhere. It's kind of like if you learn of a new vocabulary word that you've never heard of, and then all of a sudden you see that word like every day in the newspaper and in every book. Well, really, the word was there all along. It's just your mind wasn't seeing it. Similar with automobiles. Like, you'll have never seen a particular automobile, and then now you see it everywhere. And so it's similar with opportunities. Believe it or not, there are opportunities that are available that people can't see because of cognitive biases and because of these internal narratives that they have about their state of empowerment. And these things are very real, whether you want to look at it on a magical foo-foo level or whether you want to look at it on a neuroscientific level. I can tell you, like Jack Canfield, that we wrote out a check just like that, of what we wanted to make at Simple Reminders. And it was for $60,000. We wanted a $60,000 a month check is what we wanted. And within 2 years, as soon as we turned on the monetization, we'd already exceeded that. And so, there's definitely something to calling in opportunity. And it is very much, in my experience, a spiritual, or if you hate that term, a psychological or an emotional. It has to do with walking through life in a zen and graceful ease of complete faith and confidence with yourself and your identity, and gently calling those things into your space. So it's very real.
Yeah, it's amazing to just to listen to that story about simple reminders and how that you had that vision and you've surpassed it, and what good you've done with that financial and spiritual and emotional wealth. Let's just give people the Simple Reminders book. Can I just let them know how to? Can I at least let them know how to get it?
Hey, absolutely. What do you want to do it, or do you want me to say something?
Well, I want people to know that this book is coming out on May 19th, and I've already pre-ordered it because I think one of the great things that you've done, very clever and very wonderful, is you can get it for $1.99 in the pre-order, and it's already a #1 international bestseller. And I just did the one-click with Amazon, and it was really quick and easy, so I've already ordered mine, so I can tell anybody to just go to Simple Reminders, and you can go to Amazon. But I love those quotes. I get them in my inbox. I love the pictures. You have 2 million people at the website. I think it's kind of caught, okay? So I want them to go to Simple Reminders and get it at Amazon. But to get the ticket to see you, if they're going to be in Michigan, they can see you live with Sean. Go to www.seantv.com/May 20th, and it's just a $10 donation to Project Forgive. So tell them about the books. How did the book come about, the Simple Reminders?
Okay, the book, Jenny, my life partner, and I, we're both photographers, which translates into she's like a way better photographer than me. And so I'm always keeping up with her, of course. But I walk around with a camera kind of like a prop in my hand, and occasionally I will take a picture. But we've both been doing it since we were about 10 years old. And so we just decided, we loved inspiring people, and we figured it was a fast food culture, that people don't have time, and maybe they had time for a simple reminder, just something quick. And we would put it on beautiful photos that we thought were inspiring, that we took ourselves. And so we created that and started moving it forward. And like you said, it caught on like wildfire. It exploded. We started reaching 50 to 70 million people a week. We started we're getting better engagement on Facebook than Oprah, Kim Kardashian, Tony Robbins, all combined. And we get way more shares than Lady Gaga could ever dream of. And we feel like the reason is because it contains basic, essential, elemental, simple transcendental truths. The main ingredient is love. We do care about people. We do want to see people thrive. We do want to see people, living the best possible life they can. We are not going to become arrogant and haughty just because we made a little money, or because we're never going to forget ourselves. And so, we believe in people. We're champions of people, and we're champions of people's dreams. And so that's the privilege that I have, is that I have a life partner who sees this life the same way that I do, and I share the same vision she has, and we're natural encouragers, because we know what is possible. We know, and that's what we're always fighting with. It's like we're fighting people's demons, really. We're really doing combat with their negative narratives and their limiting beliefs, and trying to just show them, if they open themselves up to this tremendous beauty that is out there in this field of life, that beauty will then flow into their life, and it will transform them, and it will bring them many, many types of abundance.
I have to tell you, that's like eye candy. I can taste those words and those pictures. It's so delicious. And you're right, it's in a busy day, even if I see in my Twitter stream, it's like, oh, it just shifts my direction. It's like you talking earlier about, if you start looking for the black cars, you see the black cars. It's like all of a sudden I read a quote with a positive inspiration, with an image, and it's branded into my heart, and I feel that shift in that moment, and it just changes my entire direction of where I'm looking, and it's just so quick. It happens like in the split second that I read that and look at that image, it shifts.
Yeah. Well, really, if you think about it, words are the mind is like a computer and words are like programs. I mean, literally, you can say words to someone, and when you say a word to someone even at a distance, let's say it's someone that you love or it's a romance, just saying a word is enough to cause a systemic and total reconfiguration of the body cosmos, you know, the universal body, pheromones, one molecular pheromone reaching your nose. You have proteins and you have hormones released through your body that changes the way you're thinking, changes your entire being. I mean, words penetrate every field that we're aware of, you know, from biology to psychology to the physical to the metaphysical. So, I mean, it is true. I'm with you. Here's what I think. I think quotes can save people's lives. And I know it sounds silly, but see, I was dyslexic as a child. I had trouble reading. I had trouble remembering my months in order. You know, I actually got fired from a job once in my teens because I didn't know my months in order, and I couldn't alphabetize things. And so, I had trouble reading, and I still do. I just read in a nonlinear fashion. I skip through books, read little parts, and I guess that's why I like poetry and quotes. But, you know, quotes are very powerful, very powerful. There's a reason that those things travel all over the world on the Internet.
Well, I know they've blessed my life and so many others. And, you know, I think that it gets back to that authenticity, right? The Authentic Leadership Day, what you're talking about, the experiences in your life, Jenny's, all these other people. Are you real? Can I trust you? Do you live your message? And
That's right.
I think that suffering, I mean, I was amazed, and I think a lot of the listeners are really connecting with, okay, Bryant McGill, he can't have any suffering. Really? You learned most of your lessons from suffering? Really? You got fired from a job? Really? You did, you know, that gives us hope that, you know what, dreams are possible. And sometimes somebody listening to this can say, look at what you've done. Look at what the other people that you're surrounding yourself with on this Authentic Leadership Day. Look what they've done, what they've overcome, and how much more can we connect with people if we have that compassion. Is there, I mean, I want to take some calls here because I can see the switchboard and people want to speak with you. But, just speak to people about that, about how it was that first step for you. And how it can be for us.
Look, I mean, I was practically like a piece of crap from birth. You know, some people just don't have a good start. I mean, I was pulverized by bullies. I had a tragic self-esteem. I had been adopted. I had abandonment issues. I mean, I was just a mess. And I didn't have the type of leadership in my life. I found myself in very low places. I was on the street. I was living in my car. I had an 8th grade education. But one thing I did have is I discovered books in the library. I mean, I built my life for $1.85 in late charges from the library. Even though I had dyslexia, I could read parts of books. And from that place, I was able to teach myself programming and design and marketing and social psychology and history and a good general education. And I was able to actually get hired as an engineer at the second largest software company in the world without a degree, which was mandatory. I was able to network I was able to find amazing mentors. I started writing, brilliant people around the world in my teens. And I ended up picking up these amazing mentors, some of the most noted thinkers in the world. And the next thing you know, I was traveling with them, and I had these little apprenticeships. It all started with words. It also started with defiance. I mean, in school they called me Defiant Bryant, and let me tell you what. Hey, and I am defiant, okay? I'm not only defiant for me, like don't tell me what's not possible. I mean, if you don't get on the train tracks of my dreams because a locomotive is coming. It is a bad place to be. And so, but I feel the same way about other people, I feel the same way about their dreams. And I guess just really having crawled out of the sewer and the gutter of life, I now know that anybody can do it. And I was able to crawl out of that to owning a multi-million-dollar company and, sitting poolside with the dream girl of my life, my soulmate, where we just work together every day in our pajamas. I mean, I don't go to meetings. I only travel when I have to speak. I sit at home and I enjoy myself. And so if I can do this, anyone can do it. But, when I said I crawled out of the sewer, you see, what I discovered was the sewer was in my mind. The sewer was in my mind. It was the viciousness that had been put in me by bullies. It was the anger and the resentment that had been put inside of me like a deadly virus. It was the fear that had been put in me. Society wants to inject people there with fear. There are many social and economic fear factors that keep people from following their dreams, and they just play it safe because the fear of losing everything, mostly created BS false needs. And so, it really takes a lot. It is a spiritual awakening. It is a psychological ascension up the ladder of consciousness out of the sewer of your baser self, where you then reach this level of great amity toward the world, of great goodwill toward your fellow beings, whether it be children or a stranger on the street. You start to realize that these are vast spiritual beings and that meeting another person is a sacred event. It's like you're a royal heir to life and you're meeting another fellow royal human being. It's a sacred event. And I think once you ascend that mountain, that ascension to this great amity for the world, this great love and goodwill, that really the world just opens up like a flower. It just opens for you. Everything just becomes easier. And you realize that the struggle, yes, there's viciousness in the world, but the struggle really wasn't out there. The struggle was inside of yourself. And once you have quit fighting yourself, the world, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, it starts cooperating with you.
Well, I'm glad we have you recorded. I'm going to have to recycle this happiness. Talk about some mind vitamins to feed the whole soul here. I love the whole thing about, taking that cosmos of self, keeping that finger pointed at you instead of other people. And how can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself? How can you have compassion, forgiveness for somebody else if you don't have it for yourself? How can you have it in the workplace, in business, for your customers and be of genuine service if you don't have experience with yourself? How can you have, as you're talking about you and Jenny and being in your PJs and helping souls around the world, those types of things, how can you love and bring and attract somebody into your life if you don't have that love for yourself? And the fact that you share this in these quotes and in your speakings and in your writings and in your teachings, it really, I know it's inspired me, because one of the things that I was amazed at a couple years ago was you retweeted one of my quotes, and I was like, no, it's not really you. It was like, here you are on the show. So I'm like, oh, my God, this is too much. But can we take a call? Because I'd like to get a couple calls. And we're a little bit over time. And this lovely lady had called, and she was like 15 minutes early, 10 minutes early, and I know who this is. This is Kassar. Am I saying this right?
Yes.
Well, you are on the air speaking with Bryant. There you go.
Oh, hi, Bryant.
Hello, Kassar. Now, see, I know Kassar because, Kassar is one of these spectacular people that I was just talking about. She's former Miss Canada. I think she has a degree in something like biotechnology, so she's like wicked smart. And she's just a 100% positive individual, and one of my friends. And this is an example of how you attract beauty into your life. When you embrace beauty, then you attract more beauty. If you are a person who likes to curse and spit and watch sports and slug beers in the bar, you're going to meet a bunch of bar flies. I'm sorry, that's the way it works. Don't hate the messenger. But if you embrace beauty, you run across beautiful people like Kassar. So hello.
Oh, well, hello, Brian. You're always so kind. I'm actually just so blessed to even get the opportunity to talk to you. You're so busy, and it's just such an honor to hear you just taking over the world in such a humble manner.
Well, listen. Go ahead, sweetie. Mm-hmm.
Well, I just had the one question for you, and I was just, listening to, everything you guys are talking about, and, as we know, I'm hearing impaired. I only caught some of it, but there was just one thing, since manifestation at its time, should be effortless, and the way to create this mindset, we should have those attributes that you spoke of, like zen, ease, and that helps these opportunities and the direction come to fruition. But what would you then say are the key attributes to creating zen or ease?
Okay, well, that's a very good question. I mean, the thing is what you were talking about, effortless effort, it's a Chinese concept called Wu Wei, and it really gets into. That concept gets into non-dualism, which is a foreign concept to the Western mind because we're a very dualistic society. And but it's a Taoist concept also. It's a very Zen concept. It's a thread that you'll see through many Eastern philosophies, Wu Wei. And it is true. There is an effortless effort component to so-called manifesting. And if you don't like manifesting, once again, people, if you think it's magical or BS, we could just call it a success strategy or a psychological way of looking at the world, a psychology or an approach to life, whatever you want to call it. But so Wu Wei, it means that it really starts on the internal. Let me give you an example. I've been published in, hundreds and hundreds of books by the major publishers of the world, and I have never submitted my writings anywhere ever one time. I have never submitted a business proposal. I have never written someone and said, hey, let's work together. They all come to me. And so how do you make that happen? Well, here is an example of effortless effort. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's look at the bee and the flower. The flower does not go out and get the bee. So simply by being beautiful, by providing a semblance of value, which to the bee is the nectar, by being beautiful, the flower attracts the bee. So here's an example of something a person can do. By being a beautiful person, this is the most profound marketing strategy you'll ever hear on the planet Earth. I'm just telling you. By being beautiful, you will attract all manner of opportunity into your life, and it will come to you, period, end of report. Now, or you can go out and work hard. You could be what Hannibal Lecter called a well-scrubbed, hustling rube. And that is a person who puts on a suit and scrubs up, and they work that telephone, and they're Johnny on the spot, and they go to every meeting. Or you could sit back and relax and let the opportunities of the world just come and knock on your door. I think I'll take option number 2.
Yeah. Wow. That is so phenomenal. That's absolutely profound. And thank you.
A lot of people will say, well, that's not true because I'm a nice person and nothing's come to me.
Right.
Well, guess what? If you think like that, you've got ugliness in you. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That is an ugly thought. That's a thought of expectation. That's a thought of resentment. That's a thought of pessimism. That's not being a beautiful flower. You've got to have grace. You've got to have grace under pressure. You've got to, the time to practice grace under pressure is when things aren't going right. So in other words, it's like when you're standing at line and you're in the biggest hurry of your lifetime, and there's like somebody with a full cart in front of you. That's the time to be beautiful. That's the time to control yourself and say, okay, here's an opportunity for me to practice not being a jackass. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to monitor my energy, and I'm going to make sure I'm not tapping my feet or putting out anxious vibes that puts everyone on edge and makes them uncomfortable. I'm going to be pleasant, and I'm going to be kind. And so there's an example of when it's a good opportunity to be beautiful. See, when you do that, you're attracting things into your life right then and there. You never know how a person's going to notice you in that moment, or say something to you, or they'll recognize your kindness and beauty and start a conversation with you instead of turning their back to you if you're putting out bad vibes, Maybe that's your next business partner. So there's a little example of how so-called attraction and manifestation works just by being kind.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And you know all about this because this is you. This is how you live in life, Star.
Well, I just remember, you think back to how we started talking, and you just live a life. I remember we had a conversation once of just being so happy you don't want to sleep, so happy that you jump out of bed, so happy that you look at everything as an opportunity, as a light, and it almost seems unique and anomaly that another person would share this mindset. And what a beautiful world it would be if just everyone could wake up and not just appreciate what could be, but appreciate what is now, because that could literally exponentially grow the could be.
Woo! Hey, preach on, girl. Listen, that's why you'll catch me at 45 years old sliding around on the kitchen floor with my socks, okay, listening to music.
Oh my gosh! I love that. When you think, I'm listening to the two of you, and I'm saying to myself, okay, talk about the gratitude. There's 7 billion people on planet Earth. Think of all the things going on, and right now, in this moment, that's unrepeatable. We're here, and Kassar and Bryant, you're sharing all of these words of wisdom, and we're all listening, and it's like, wow. You have to be grateful for that, because you can't make that up. That's amazing.
That's right. And listen, Kassar is a great example. She mentioned her hearing problem. Kassar, for example, she found out she had this serious problem where she was losing all of her hearing, and she didn't become bitter and angry. I never even detected one little iota of anything negative in her. She was just like, hey, this is what I've been dealt with. And now she's working with some of the top neuroscientists in the world to come up with some innovative, non-intrusive strategies for helping people with hearing. So there's an example. You could become embittered and angry and play a victim role, or you can do something positive with your thinking. And that's why my book is really kind of a grab somebody by the collar and shake them meets transcendentalism. A lot of times people will read my writings and say, first of all, this is not simple at all. And secondly, it's not even motivational. It's more demotivational. And that's because the truth hurts, and a lot of people run from themselves. They run to the habitual, limbic, reptilian, ancient, reactive mind with anger and which blocks all opportunity. And so, Kassar is just a great example. She has cultivated tremendous wealth in her life and created amazing opportunities for herself, and really is pretty much loved by everyone everywhere. And it's because she hasn't allowed negativity and cynicism, even when there's a good reason. And that's the key, folks. Listen, the time to not be negative and cynical is when there is every good reason to be. Okay? It's nothing if you're fine and dandy when everything is great. That is zero accomplishment. So that's about mastering yourself. See? That's about mastering what is inside of you. And so either way, these are basic so-called technologies, strategies, whatever you want to call it, which I'm just telling you will bless your life in so many ways, just by becoming a beauty seeker and not allowing negative experiences to poison you and to turn you pessimistic, turn you into a cynic. this is the way to flow with life.
I'm feeling the love. I am definitely feeling the love. Works for me. Oh, my goodness. Kassar, I'm so excited that you called, and you contributed so much in this. The conversation between you and Brian is just really, really amazing. Very, very powerful.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Brian, he's an absolutely phenomenal person. Any opportunity to even listen to him, I mean, I'm all over it. So.
And to listen to both of you together. Wow.
So what are some challenges that you've experienced, Deb, in terms of things you hear from people all the time who are trying to create a beautiful life? What are some of the most common so-called alleged obstacles that you hear coming up?
Yeah, I think it's just the irony and the contradictions in life that could something possibly that seems like a bad or a negative. How can that become a positive? How can that very thing that seems the obstacle become the very blessing that I'm grateful for, that gives me the freedom? That contradiction of how do you become free by leaning into the things you might be afraid of, or as you say and you talk about in your writing, it's like you get messy, you get into it, you get honest, you get real, you get your hands in the dirt, and you create that garden of your life, because you know that it's sometimes those seeds of suffering that are going to bring you the greatest success. And I think that's the obstacle, is that somebody else has that magic bullet, or that somebody else is exempt, or that there's something I have to do instead of something I have to be, and that it's not there, it's in here, and that So, I mean, I'll raise my hand. I'm the first one to say, I have to eat their own words and take those mind vitamins. But I think that's the big challenge.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with blame. And we could call it laziness, but maybe we've been conditioned toward a certain behavior in life. And I get in trouble all the time. People just hate it when I talk about how, when you're attacked by something in life, that they think I'm victim bashing, that you create a lot of the unnecessary struggle by the way you engage the struggle. And, you could distill it down to a very simple example. Everybody always wants to throw out, what about rape and starving children? And they always want to throw out the most extreme examples. But I'm always talking about, of course, just general personal development, interpersonal relations, not violent crime. But, for example, if someone, for example, betrays you, or in business, or they don't come through, or they disappoint you, and this kind of gets into the whole forgiveness, authentic leadership concept. You can choose to struggle and writhe around in agony and blame, and you can grapple with them, which that is a huge expenditure of energy. Or you could kind of take the jujitsu maneuver and just kind of let them pass by and not engage their depravity or their insanity. Because really, when you engage someone's energy, that energy now has you in tow with it. And so just by basic surrender and release, for example, you can sidestep a lot of this unnecessary struggle. When you are being victimized, you can sidestep a lot of the unnecessary struggle, which you can just look at it scientifically according to the second law of thermodynamics. It's just not, efficient energy expenditure, if you wanted to look at it that way. So, the way that we engage our problems, like, for example, if we learn to forgive, if we learn to allow people to be human, if we learn to accept that people are going to fail, including us, ourselves, if we can learn to digest that quickly and move through it instead of anchoring onto it and ruminating and ruminating about the past and agonizing about the future and, all of this unnecessary tug of war inside of ourselves. If we can just cooperate with what is, right, then it allows us to move more quickly through it, to be more efficient, to get to that next opportunity faster. I mean, this is just practical common sense.
Well, common sense is not so common anymore, in case you read that quote going around. Do you find that people really are searching for that peace?
No, I do not. I don't find that at all. I find that people are watching TV and sports and slugging beers and avoiding everything.
Yeah. TV.
So constantly I'll see people say, I can't afford your book for $2. Yeah, well, I bet they've got cable TV. I mean, look, we've got choices in life, and a little entertainment is good, but this is, and I get blasted all the time for talking about this. But whatever, I mean, I just don't even care. The meditation on the violent video games, the constant immersion in all of the television that is negative psychological programming, increasing fear factors. I haven't watched TV in 20 years, but I've taken a survey through, and some of these shows are off. I mean, Crossing Jordan and Bones and Crime Victim CSU, and it's just like this huge list of meditations on death and rape and murder and victimization, and then people will howl whenever I talk about this. TV has nothing to do with my psychological state. Oh, really? Hey, I have to tell you that garbage in, garbage out. And if you think that you're not affected by what you're exposed to in your environment, these are experiential, experiences. Whenever we're watching TV, exposing our psyche to a lot of this mindless entertainment, it's occupying our mind. It's filling us with imagery that's not necessarily good for us. We not only consume food, we consume with our consciousness. And but a lot of people, they want things, but they don't want to take the action to do it. They don't want to sacrifice their entertainment. But, I decided a long time ago I'd rather go on a deep-sea shark diving experience than watch Shark Week on TV. I'd rather climb a mountain than watch somebody else do it. And so this comes down to fundamental decisions about your life, okay? And I'm not trying to be insensitive, but if your life sucks and you hate your life and you feel like you're back painted into a corner in your job and you see no way out and you sit around watching TV all the time, hey, you've got some choices to make because life isn't on the TV. Hey, I like a good movie occasionally. I'm not an extremist, but, you have to make choices. You have to get out there and do something if you want to improve your situation. Woo-wee is great. Actionless action is wonderful. It does start within, but then you have to take the steps, too. You have to take the practical steps of the doing.
Do you think that this gets back to the self-love that we were talking about earlier, that idea that if you love yourself enough in a healthy way and you respect yourself and you have that good relationship with yourself, you're not going to want to feed yourself poison on TV or be in that relationship that's toxic? I mean, do you think that it gets back to that thermometer test of what you're actually, be a third person, observe yourself, how are you talking, what are you watching, what are you reading, who are you surrounding yourself with, and that will give you a good indicator of where you're at and what you can change?
Let's look at a garden. What do you do with a garden? You plant the seeds. You have an intention. You plant the seeds very carefully. You keep the predators away. Similarly, if you want to create a new life, you have new ideas that are budding. They're very susceptible to predators of thought who are doubt whisperers who will come in and try to steal the seeds of your becoming. You then have to pick the weeds. your mind is such a cultivation. If you want to have the bounty of beauty in your life, if you want to reap the fruit of your consciousness, you have to plant the seeds and sow the seeds of that great consciousness you want to create. Your life is such a cultivation as a garden. And so, this is the mindset you have to adapt. You're not going to go out and poison the very garden you're trying to grow things in. And so, yes, it's just the more beauty and wonder and knowledge you can expose yourself to instead of junk TV, the more that you can, listen to beautiful music and be around beautiful people. And when I say beautiful, I don't know what it is about Western culture. Everybody, and when I talk about beauty, people will always say, well, not everybody has a pretty face. And I'm like, come on, man. Beauty. I'm talking about transcendental beauty, spiritual beauty. And, the more knowledge you can get, the more turned on about life that you can get, the more turned on about people and beautiful experiences that you can get, the more of that beauty you can have in your environment, then the better your life is going to be. And here's the thing. So a lot of people will say, well, that's easy for you to say. You probably live in, a nice place or what have you, and I don't have those opportunities. The first environment you have to create is the environment that your consciousness lives in. That's where you live. You live with yourself 24 hours a day. So before I had anything, like I would draw a circle and put a stick figure in that circle, and I would say, this is my universe, this is my world. And my world, now I wasn't living in a great place. I said, my world is going to be a beautiful place. And whenever I would go places, I would take that energy bubble with me. So when I would stand in a checkout line, when I got up to the cashier, that person was now in my bubble. And my bubble is an awesome place. I don't care where I came from or what the so-called reality is. My bubble, my world I take with me is an awesome place. And so, I would notice palpable differences in the way people would be treated. For example, we'd go to the checkout and the person in front of me would not even get a glance by the cashier. They wouldn't even look in their eye. And they would just check them out. And then when I would step up there, the next thing you know, the cashier was laughing, and we were talking, and they were having a good experience. And that's because I invited them into my energy bubble of kindness. We respond to energy, and skeptics hate this. There's no such thing as energy, How do you quantify it? What does that even mean? Well, there is psychic energy, or you could call it psychological energy, or let's just call it sense energy. It doesn't matter what you want to call it. Crazy skeptics who don't believe in this apparently have never walked into a room after a couple has been arguing and you could just feel the energy in the room, right? I guess these guys are living on some other planet. But either way, we know that there is an energy that can be felt. Animals pick up on it. Humans pick up on it. And, of course, scientists have been measuring it as much as skeptics want to deny it. And so by inviting people into your energy bubble of amity and goodwill and love, and by like when you're at the cashier, thinking about that person, about how maybe she has a kid at home, maybe her mom is sick, she's been standing on her feet all day long and they're aching, and she's got a bunch of rude people who are being mean to her, who are all victims themselves, okay, because they're working for evil corporations who are extracting as much life force out of them as possible and converting it into cold, hard cash and sending it to a demon in an ivory tower somewhere. And so they're overworking them, and those people go home and they're beat up by the company. They say it rolls downhill, right? So they're beat up by the company, and then they're sharp and curt with their wife, and they snap at their wife. And then the wife has been at home with the kids all day, and then they snap at the kids. And so you see that it's a pyramid of dysfunction. It's a pyramid of victimization. And so by having compassion, which you could call authentic leadership, by the way, by having compassion for other human beings, by inviting them into your energy field of amity and goodwill, They feel it. They know it. They sense it. They are vast beings of incredible intelligence. They know. The heart speaks to the heart. The heart knows, okay? And so you just changed that person's life, and they changed yours, because that's what we are. We are mirrors to one another, okay? We were meant to interface with nature and with each other. That is called community. That's the true beauty of life. And so simply by going out in public and smiling and being kind and having compassion, you're changing the world, but you're also changing your life in ways you can't even imagine. It's just a matter of sticking with it.
Wow. Wow. I don't often get speechless, but I don't really know what else to say, because that is just, that experience of just listening to you was amazing.
Well, let me just sum it up. Authenticity is the difference between life and death. It's the difference between living a fraudulent, suffocating, miserable life that is fettered away by petty drama and insecurity and regret and anger, or living a beautiful, wonderful life, being a wonderful and beautiful expression of life. You know, I mean, when we're talking about authenticity, we're talking about being a human being, okay? A lot of people, I think, have lost touch with what that means, but if you want to know where to find it, if you want to know a place to find it, to start, go out in nature and look at the flowers. Listen to the wind and the trees. Turn things off and feel that field of beauty that is out there in the world that is flowing through you. Look into the eyes of a child. Instead of texting someone, sit on the couch next to them and look into their eyes and watch what happens to your soul when they start laughing. When that vagus nerve fires in that positive way and they start laughing and you're drawn into that moment and you realize that that's as good as it gets in life right there. I mean, it's all right there for us. It's all so simple. It's right there. It's just a matter of our choosing. It's a matter of our choices. You know, it starts with an intention. It starts with entertaining the possibility that even such beauty could exist in the world or in your life. And then it starts with seeking to find it and to connect with it in very simple ways.
Well, you've been very generous with your time, and your message is timeless, and I can't thank you enough for being here and sharing all the wisdom. And for people that want more of this, obviously listen to the replay of this show, share it with a friend. That's what keeps us going and growing. But you're going to be at Authentic Leadership Day with Sean Dubron, and that's www.seantv.com/May 20th, and it's just a $10 donation to Project Forgive. And for people to get your book, they can still get it. Seriously, $1.99, I think that we can all afford that. They can still get that before the price goes up, because it's still in pre-order and it's coming out on the 19th. Wow, the 19th and 20th. Those are two big days back to back.
I know, they really are.
It's unbelievable for simple reminders. And you really I talk about being authentic and fearless. God has definitely given you a gift. Whatever it was in Alabama, whatever happened, you've clearly just taken everything that God, you've just really blessed everybody, I think, by you just being the example. And I just thank you so much for being here and sharing your shine with us. And I don't know, what is there, Cassandra, are you still on here? Did you want to say anything else? Are you still there?
I am here. I guess I don't know. There's just one thing I wanted to touch on. Is just I guess I like to think that, people are inherently kind, and, when Brian spoke about suppressing your identity, sometimes people are suppressing that kindness within them, and they're kind of just blocking their ability to love from within because of hurt that kind of came from without of them. So they haven't developed enough shell that kind of acts like a sifter to let in the good but keep out the bad. And, as human, we falter and we feel. So to have something like Simple Reminders or Bryant or anybody that's involved in this, realm of personal development and LOA, it just all around helps us to remember that beauty exists all around us, and we just have to allow it to grow, within us. And I'm glad that I jumped on the call today. It's just very beneficial.
Thank you so much, Kassar. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for sharing all this. And you and Brian, I think it was the best part of the show. You two talking, sharing. Awesome.
Oh. Hey, well, listen, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to be upon your broadcast, and just sending, Jenny and I sending our heartfelt wishes to everyone around the world who have supported this book, the tens of thousands of people who have ordered it. It's just a real testament to the fact that people just want something good in their life, okay? That's it. They just want something positive. They want something good. They're really ready for it, and I'm just so grateful for all of them, and of course for Sean, who has invited me to that wonderful project, and to all of the listeners out there. Get out there and make some good decisions today, because it's never too late. It's never too late to love yourself again, and it's never too late to take a step toward your dreams.
Oh, my goodness. God bless you. Group hug. Feeling the love.
Okay, group hug.
Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. Bryant McGill, everybody, get that book, Simple Reminders. Check out Authentic Leadership Day. Thank you so much for joining us. We've gone way over time. I don't know what else to say except thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll be seeing you soon. Go to Simple Reminders, the Facebook page. There's over 2 million people there. Get the book. I've already ordered my book. Get it. It's a one-click on Amazon, okay? One click on Amazon for $1.99 before it goes up. And then $10 donation, Project Forgive. Be a blessing to somebody else. It'll come back to you. It's like everything that Brian was saying with the bees and the flowers and the gardens. And you know what? You're going to bless yourself, and you're worth it. So get on that PBS live streaming that's coming up. There's so many awesome things. Just go to his website. Jenny, his beautiful life partner, she's rocking awesome. And I'm telling you, talk about the real deal. I've had more emails back and forth with her, laughing so hard, if you can laugh on email. I just really appreciate everybody, and thank you so much for being here. God bless, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Best People We Know radio show with your host, Deb Scott. For more on Deb and her guests, plus her award-winning guidebook to transformation, The Sky is Green and the Grass is Blue, Turning Your Upside-Down World Right Side Up, go to Deb's website, greenskyandbluegrass.com. You can also connect with Deb for coaching or speaking, and sign up for Deb's free Mind Vitamin newsletter while you're there. So now, you're one step closer today to your greatness. We look forward to being with you next time on the Best People We Know radio show.